Everything is a mess. Everything everywhere is a mess. The mess is all around us, and it's contagious. It's spreading. If you get too close to the mess, you might catch it. You might become part of the mess. Everything is a mess, and you who are not yet a mess try to hold yourself apart from the mess, and you wonder if someone is ever going to do something about the mess, and you watch the mess spread and spread and spread, and you see it getting closer and closer to you, and you begin to despair. Everything is a mess. If you agree with me, you know how the teachers and the leaders felt, what they believed, and how they were trying to make the people feel in the time of the Jesus story today. The mess in the Jesus story is the Gentiles and their presence in the land, their desecrating presence in the midst of God's chosen people. That's what the leaders would tell the people. That's what the leaders wanted the people to think and to feel. They, the Gentiles, are pollution. They are polluting us and our land. We are the clean ones. We are the pure ones. We are the ones living according to God's will and God's laws. They are not. They are making the mess. They are the problem. Under Roman occupation, well, it can't really be called occupation anymore at this time. The Romans are just the latest occupiers. There's no one alive who remembers anyone, who would have remembered anyone, who would have remembered what it was like when the people were truly their own kingdom, their own separate thing. But hey, that, whatever that was, must have been a time of purity, right? That must have been different from now when everything is a mess. That must have been cleaner, greater, and easier. We must have been okay then, not like now, when we have to accept these interlopers, these strangers in the midst of what is ours. This is what you would have heard. Almost certainly spoken out loud in the synagogues and in the streets. In Jesus' time. The setting of the story is supposed to be a mess. Everyone would have agreed. Everyone would have seen it that way. The country of the Gerasenes was on the other side of the sea. You cross over the boundary, and all of a sudden you're there in the middle of a mess. And immediately you're met by a lunatic, one who is possessed by demons. I mean, what did you expect from these people? That's what they are like, right? They're mostly lunatics. Raving. You can't even understand what they're saying half the time. You can't even understand that. And also, you're in the middle of a graveyard. Literally, the ground that you step out of the boat onto is unclean, profaned by death and by them daring to bury their dead right here by our sea in country that used to be ours. Also, there's a giant herd of pigs right there, rooting and eating right next to the place of death. What would you expect? Filthy, disgusting, not an animal that we keep, that we condone, not a thing we would ever allow in our country. This place is completely fallen, completely a mess. This, if we are not careful, is a preview of the future. Raving men, filled with demons, next to pigs in the midst of desecrating death. They got a foothold here in the midst of what used to be pure, and now everything is a mess. The leaders told them this. They filled the people with this rhetoric. Here is the problem. Here are the problematic people. Here is what is being allowed to happen to our place, our land. This is what people do. Unironically, because we know that at many other times and places before and since this story, it was the people themselves, these people, the us people, God's chosen people, who were the ones who were cast out and othered and scapegoated as the mess, the stain, the spreading disease, the problem. This is what human beings do. We fail over and over and over to see the hypocrisy in what we're doing when we cast the blame and the fault on some other people, when we believe the rhetoric, when we make them into the mess. This land isn't ours. belongs to God. These people aren't a mess. They're God's people. Our lives are not our own. They're for God. And through God, they're for them too. Our lives are for others. We believe this. We believe all of this, right? Our lives aren't the purity in the midst of the mess. Our lives are the mess, deeply interconnected and involved with all of humanity, all of the world. That's what we believe. That's what we believe is our calling from God. And at our best, at our servant heart best, our calling from God cuts through the deceptive rhetoric that tells us that everything is a mess. At our best, we refuse to believe it. And yet it's too easy to picture ourselves in the midst of an encroaching mess, holding the line, holding off into despair. It's too easy to say, there, but for the grace of God go I, but I do not want to go there and to work and to worry and to desperately, fanatically try to stay apart from the mess. It's too easy to listen to the lies and to convince ourselves that we can keep ourselves away, apart, pure and holy until Jesus comes back or the world ends or just something. It's too easy to listen to the lies and to disengage our hearts, to disengage our brains, to disengage the deep down part of us that knows that it's hypocrisy, that knows that there but for the grace of God is a real thing and that all of us are in this human condition together. It's too easy to turn that off because we're scared, or because we wish it was all easier, or because being powerful feels better than admitting any sort of connection to powerlessness. Everything is a mess. What are we supposed to do? What did Jesus do? I suppose one thing you can say is that Jesus didn't listen to the lies. He didn't give them credibility. Instead of withdrawing from the mess, staying on the good and clean side of the sea, he went right into it. And I suppose another thing you can say is that Jesus overcame fear. In the midst of howling and demons and death, Jesus stepped forward and spoke directly, asked for a name, made a connection. And I suppose a third thing that you can say is that in Jesus' wake, trailing behind Jesus, he left peace. He brought calm where there had been turmoil, order where there had been chaos, right-mindedness where there had been ranting and raving. Jesus planted a seed of good news on the other side of a border of suspicion and division and blaming. He didn't do everything. He didn't fix everything, not even Jesus, not in this story. But he did something. He made it better, not worse. He helped one at least, maybe more, maybe way more than we can see here in this story. Our calling from God, I believe, is to move through the world not seeing and blaming a mess that we have to distance ourselves from or keep at bay, but instead seeing the opportunities to spread hope, to bridge divides, to step forward in love, to trail peace in our wake. We are not always able to bring ourselves to do it. And even when we are, it often feels inadequate, like it's not enough, not equal to the challenge. But through the ones who follow in the way of Jesus, God is working in the world to bring new life out of desolation and renewed courage out of despair. Through us, and sometimes even in spite of us, God's love and God's hope are spreading in the world, making what was fearful into what is beautiful, making what was contaminating into what is connecting, making what was a violent mess into what is a garden of peace. I know it doesn't look like that. But part of why it doesn't is lies we're told. Don't repeat lies. Speak God's truth, that all people are part of God's family, worthy of God's love. Part of why it doesn't is fears we have. Don't live out of fear. Be of good courage, God courage, all the way to eternity. Renew your sight. See what God has done already and what God is still doing. See past what looks like a mess. It's not everything. Not yet. But it's happening. New life is beginning. Hope is spreading. God is here. See it, believe it, and live it into existence in every way that we can. Yesterday and today and every day. May the peace of God, which passes all understanding, guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus our Lord. Amen.